Calaroga Shark Media.
Hey there, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. As I've been trying to reinstate on Fridays, taking a look at the late night joke. Stephen Colbert had a good one about Trump. I don't know if you saw, the job numbers were pretty bad, and Colbert said when he heard about the employment crisis, Trump sprang into action and fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. You fool, now there's one less job. Don't you see? You fell into her trap. I like that, very clever. Seth Meyers said Trump spoke about the proposal to build a ballroom on the White House grounds next to the executive mansion and added, it'll be near, but not touching it. So it's kind of like him and Melania. You could see that one coming. I like that joke. Colbert again. Now, presidents are allowed to do a little renovation, of course. The Obama added a vegetable garden. Truman and Nixon both added bowling lanes. And Jimmy Carter famously added a sex dungeon. Hulu has Ralph Barbosa's Planet Bosa out today. I'd tell you all about it, but Hulu likes to keep their comedy specials extra secret. They don't want me to know about it, but my spies have told me that Ralph Barbosa's Planet Bosa was filmed at the Balboa Theater in San Diego, and in it, Ralph shares his adventures in dating, controlling his temper, working on cars, and his views on current events. Katt Williams is working the PGA Tour this weekend. He is the FedEx Cup Playoffs on-course correspondent. Why? The PGA Tour is trying to attract a new audience. Katt Williams is a huge fan of golf and has a 19 handicap. Katt told The Hollywood Reporter, okay, so I had to establish a handicap when I tore my rotator cuff, so I came in as a 19 handicap, but I shoot low 80s. You certainly don't want to bet me. I know I won't be able to get that when I get ready to do it again. 83 is a good and gettable score for me all across the country at excellent courses. The thing I like about golf is that it permeates so many different parts of your life. It's not like it fixes everything, but it gives you a new parameter for things. The first 4 holes not going to your liking, it has the ability to ruin the day, but it doesn't have to. You can fix the front 9, you see, and level this front 9 out where you can still have a good 18. He calls his outlook toxic positivity. And he really thought about this, quoting Katt, if I aimed right and I meant for the ball to go right, but the ball went left, where am I in my journey? I feel like the ball knows better than me, and that must be the angle that I must need to take to get to the pin, and that's why it went over there. Not that I made a mistake and shanked it, and it went over to the right. I don't even look at it like that because that's the way it is in golf. That's the way it is in my real life. It's almost a toxic positivity. I know that happened because I didn't keep my head down. I'm just going to try and make sure that I keep it down the next time. It takes away a lot of the pressures of doing poorly because you've got so many opportunities to do a better job. Katt Williams, philosopher. Speaking of golf, what's going on with Will Ferrell's upcoming golf comedy? Rami Youssef and Josh Rabinowitz were originally announced as co-showrunners in addition to having created the series with Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell stars as a fictional golf legend, according to Variety. With their departure, Molly Shannon has joined the series in the role of Stacy. We don't know too much about Stacy just yet. To me, trading out Rami Youssef for Molly Shannon, that's like trading Tom Seaver to the Reds. If you catch my drift there. Billboard asked Matt Rife, are you looking to follow the career path of, say, Adam Sandler? Now, by that, did they mean that Matt Rife might become a really good dramatic actor? Or are they wondering if he's going to make horrific comedies? Rife said, it's hard to say. Life's going to take me in whatever direction it wants, but if I had my way, yeah. That's the weird thing about accomplishing as much as I have by 30, including at Madison Square Garden. It's like, what do I do now? It's the most blessed predicament I could possibly dream of. As far as stand-up comedy, my dreams have come true. I know it wasn't pure luck. I've worked my butt off, but it almost feels like I've hit the mark of I could retire if I wanted to. I won't stop performing until I die, but now I have to start thinking about, is there something more? Is there something I'm passionate about that's new to me? The goal would be film and television, primarily film, then doing stand-up whenever I feel like and performing with my friends as much as I can. That's one thing I love about Adam Sandler. He's always kept that tight-knit group around him. Billboard asked Rife about a swipe from Marc Maron in 2023. Marc Maron called Matt Rife the it boy of crappy comedy. Said there was never a beef. He was just being a crotchety old man. I've never even met the guy. I guarantee he's never watched one of my shows, so if he wants to be bitter and angry that I get to live his dreams, yeah, man, you're kind of being a D-word to somebody who might have looked up to you. I used to love to watch Marc Maron stand up. I don't have a beef with a single comedian. I'm living my life, dude. What do I possibly have to complain about? I don't hate on anybody. I don't talk crap about anybody. I'm just out here performing to the best of my ability. I play with my puppy, and I hang out with my friends. I mind my own business, and anybody who has a problem with that, it's clearly an internal battle. All right, Matt Rife, I like that quote. That was well fielded, that question. Josh Blue has a book. He's been working on it for years. He said, yeah, it was about 15 pages a year. I had scribes who I dictated to what I wanted to say. I went through 5 different scribes over 20 years, and it's my story, but each person influences how the story is. So I had to go back through and rewrite the whole book just because it was in so many different voices. It was a long, long process, but I feel like it was worth the wait. Well, that book is out now. It is called Something to Stare At. The book gets into Josh Blue's unpredictable life, from his emergency birth in Africa to representing the United States in Paralympic soccer and building a successful stand-up career. I've met him. He's a cool guy. If you're in Denver, there's a launch party tonight at 73 Art Agency in Denver's Rhino District. The event includes a Q&A, a book signing, light refreshments, giveaways, and a gallery show of Josh's original paintings. Josh says it's hard when you're so close to something for so long. I can't really see it, but everybody that's been reading it is like, this is good. And every time somebody says it's not crap, it feels great. If you are not familiar with Josh, he has cerebral palsy and explains, because of my disability, I've had to be very comfortable with other people knowing my stuff because I need help to get stuff done. So I feel like I've always been very open and comfortable with that. Obviously, talking about getting bullied and stuff like that doesn't feel good, but it also feels good in the fact that I'm here now, if that makes sense, and hopefully it gives other people strength to deal with whatever it is they're dealing with. I don't like corny or cheesy stuff, but if you could take something from these stories in my life, then that's awesome. Anyway, if you're in Denver and you want to hit the Something to Stare At launch party, eventbrite.com. Tonight, 6 to 9 p.m. My dogs apparently are very excited about it. They just started to bark their heads off. Usually the mastering process can get rid of the barking, but if you hear the barking, that's what's going on. Michael Rappaport is on the list of comedians alongside, say, George Lopez that I never come on here and be like, hey, Michael Rappaport had a great day. He said it was sunny and 72 degrees out and he got ice cream and he just loves life. I never tell you a story like that. From alalabama.com, Michael Rappaport went on Facebook and told 1.1 million followers that his comedy show in Alabama was canceled after, quote, protests and threats over my support for Israel. Rappaport had announced the show on July 23rd on Facebook, saying he'd be in Birmingham to film a movie and had scheduled the performance on his night off. He continued to post about the concert all the way through August 1st, posting in a video, I can't wait. Tickets are available now, but it's going to sell out because I'm Michael Rappaport. AL.com says at 3 p.m. on Tuesday, however, Rappaport confirmed that the show wasn't happening. Quoting Michael, my show tonight at the Stardome in Alabama was canceled, all caps. I did not cancel. I would never cancel, especially since I'm already here in Birmingham, ready to perform. It was shut down because of protests and threats over my support for Israel and for speaking up about the 50 hostages still being held in Gaza, 670 days in captivity, and people are protesting me for demanding their release. ? It's embarrassing. It's sad, but I'm not ashamed. I stand by what I say and who I stand with. From Stocktonia.com, your home for comedy news, they report the city of Stockton spent $50,000 to subsidize a live entertainment event in which the city's vice mayor was one of the featured performers. Okay, what's going on here? Stocktonia says the city tapped the Risk Mitigation Fund in order for the Wild 'N Out live show to go forth as planned on May 24th. The, quote, epic night of comedy, music, and wild freestyle battles was the live version offshoot of the MTV sketch comedy and rap show. One of the recurring cast members, Stockton Vice Mayor Jason Lee. Fast forwarding through all the political details, interim city manager Steve Colangelo said he had launched an investigation into how $50,000 was dispersed without his knowledge or approval, and additionally, quote, whether boundaries between policymaking and administration were crossed. Stocktonian reports the Wild 'N Out show wasn't the first to receive a city bailout. The city kicked in $125,000 to subsidize the second year of the Stockton Lantern Festival, a show involving lighted displays. As for Wild 'N Out, the manager of ASM Stockton, which manages the arena, told the director of Stockton's Economic Development Department that the show incurred a $170,000 loss to its promoters. Apparently, the $50,000 was, quote, helpful to, quote, narrow the loss gap for the promoter. Canceling the show due to low ticket sales, fewer than 4,000 tickets had sold in the 10,000-seat arena the day before the show, would have deterred other promoters from booking acts in Stockton. They apparently dropped the ticket prices and got a lot of walk-up and got the attendance to 7,700. Who knows? The Hollywood Reporter had a big piece with John Oliver. I'll pick at this for the next few days. They were curious, what timeline does the comedy get layered in? The Last Week Tonight segments come together in 6 weeks, but what about the comedy part? Oliver said, really late. The jokes used to come in earlier, but you don't want to start writing before story is stable because then you'll fall in love with the jokes that are built on material that doesn't stand up, and that's a terrible position to put comedy writers in. So it's only in the last 2 weeks that the jokes come in, but that first month, you're trying to give people ingredients that they'll be able to create comedy from. You want it to be like an episode of Chopped, where it's not impossible to make something palatable at the end, so you're not giving them broken glass and weed killer, you give them eggs. You'll find that interview in the Hollywood Reporter. I'll have more about that tomorrow. And on tomorrow's show, Mike Chisholm from the Letterman podcast is my guest. We talk about all things late night, but before I get to the interview, I'll talk a little about Oliver. Are you caught up on South Park? Did you catch the other day actual ICE, like the actual government immigrations customs enforcement website, used a clip from South Park? Yes, the official Twitter account for ICE used a still from a South Park teaser. The teaser had included footage of Donald Trump groping Satan's leg under the table at a dinner party. ICE didn't use that part, but the teaser also featured footage of ICE officers presumably raiding South Park. ICE thought that was cool, and they decided to use it. South Park got back at them on social media and wrote, wait, so we are relevant? And added a hashtag. I can't even read this to you, but you may be familiar with a particular Louis C.K. comedy routine about eating a bag of something. They use the hashtag eat a bag of something.
Comedy stock market.
Welcome to Comedy Stock Market, our new Friday feature where I'll throw out some names of comedians and tell you if you should buy, sell, or maybe even hold their comedy stock. This week's buy recommendations: buy stock in Marc Maron. His recent special is the best special of the year. It's Mark's best special. His podcast coming to an end. He'll be taking a victory lap, and he's got that documentary. Buy Marc Maron stock. Also buy Dusty Slay. His special was really good as well. Plus, he's part of the Nate Bargatze-verse, so always a good thing to have, and being Nate adjacent should help Dusty's ascendancy, and well-deserved. Also, buy Adam Sandler stock. Despite me screaming about it, you guys watched Happy Gilmore too. Don't blame me, but 47 million of you did the first weekend. That means Netflix is for sure going to make more Adam Sandler comedies, paying Adam Sandler tons and tons of money to make terribly unfunny things. So buy Adam Sandler stock. Here are my sells. Sell Stephen Colbert stock. I know 2 weeks ago everybody was like, oh, we love Stephen Colbert, but you weren't watching Stephen Colbert anyway, and I think that show's going to have a quiet few months and then perk back up in May, but I would sell on Colbert. I would sell on Leanne Morgan. Here's why. My wife, who was really excited about the sitcom and is in the Target demo, she kept telling me how bad it was, and she doesn't like the laugh track. So if they're not getting my wife, sell on Leanne. Sorry about the Netflix show. And my final sell recommendation of the week, sell on Bill Burr. The more I pick away at that Vulture interview and listening to the words Bill Burr says, I think Bill Burr is going to lose his core. He might not care, but I think we're past peak Bill Burr now. So sell on Burr, sell on Leanne, sell on Colbert, buy Sandler, buy Dusty Slay, buy Marc Maron. That is your comedy stock market. Out today on the 800-pound gorilla, Eliza Schlesinger, A Different Animal. She's also putting out an album on 8/15. That's exciting. Also a comedy album from Damian Power. It's called Not So Funny Now, Is It? We're told that's available wherever you stream comedy. Also Larry Dean's Fudnut, F-U-D-N-U-T, Fudnut. Nice job by the 800-pound gorilla, and I wish that Hulu would hire the nice lady from the 800-pound gorilla. She sends me things in advance with dates and stuff, not like the Hulu publicist. Hulu publicist doesn't want me to know anything about what they're up to over at Hulu. A comedian I'm very much into right now is Seton Smith. He's over at the Fringe. VoiceMag.uk has been speaking with a lot of the Fringe performers. Seton says, I'm debuting my show Trauma Bonding after 22 years of doing comedy. I spent 2 years opening for John Mulaney And I'm excited to talk about my family, my childhood, how it's affected me, who I am now, and I'm excited to relate to people. It's exciting mainly because it's scary. Going in deeper and talking about childhood stories I always thought were tragic because they don't seem tragic in themselves. Like there was a time when I lived with my father and the food he bought made my stomach hell and I was always constipated. These things happened, but what made it tragic is how my constipation ruined the church's big field trip to Six Flags, the amusement park. They asked Seaton about his creative process. He said, an idea pops into my head from living a moment in life, and then I journal until I understand the players and the situation. Then I look for my opinion of the situation, which leads into the conflict of the scene. From there, it's just playing around, finding the funny, and kinetic energy. I like that. That's really smart. What do you find most rewarding about performing for a live audience? Smith said, when a new joke kills, because I'm surprised as much as the audience. We all get to be the audience in moments like that. It's my favorite. It's a thrill. Influences, Richard Pryor, Patrice O'Neill, John Mulaney, Tony Woods, Jon Stewart. Seton Smith, trauma bonding at the Pleasance Courtyard Bunker 3 for the entire Fringe. Chortle went to go see Ted Milligan's show called United. They say Milligan has golden retriever energy and has come up with a pretty good premise for his new show, taking inspiration from the ongoing rash of Netflix sports documentaries. This show documents a season in the lower leagues for Crubchester United, a team in some town that fell into economic depression after the collapse of the cash register industry. This basically sounds like Wrexham. Spoilers here, you weren't flying to Scotland. Milligan's approach is uneven and conceptually a little wobbly. What begins as a streaming documentary in which he provides the talking heads eventually morphs into more of a TED Talk as the video material runs out and he has to take over as narrator. It's nice to see somebody unabashedly silly and cheerful in tone, even if Milligan never quite finds a way to imbue his underdog tale with real stakes or narrative intrigue. Interesting. The Times really liked Tom Rosenthal's show. They gave it 4 stars out of 5. The title of the show is Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I Am, and it puts a positive spin on the title of the first album by the Arctic Monkeys, the punchline being an amazing band if you ignore everything after 2007. The Times gave 4 stars out of 5 to Kat Cohen, who won Best Newcomer at the Edinburgh Comedy Awards in 2019. Her show Broad Strokes is the story of a girl who wants to be exceptional, and yet she is unexceptional. The Times says the way she mixes hugely accomplished, velvety, smooth singing with wittily warped description of her drive, hypochondria, career, and when we get to it, real illness is always acute, always imaginative. Also 4 stars out of 5 to Lou Wall. I like Lou a lot. The Times says it's not often that a sequel outstrips the original, yet breaking the 5th wall is a real Paddington 2 of an Edinburgh Comedy Hour. Interesting. The Times writes, some audience members were used to accuse Wall of making it all up, and sure enough, this is a show about whether or not to trust a comedian who insists they're always telling the truth, except when they're lying. And that is your comedy news for today. Come back tomorrow. Mike Chisholm and I will throw the ball around for at least an hour. We'll talk all things late night, normal episode on Sunday. Appreciate you. See ya.